Welcome, everyone. It looks like people are still rolling in, so let's give it a few moments. And I expect some company up here on stage. Thanks.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Hey, Chris. How are things today?
Oh, end of a busy week, beginning of a busy weekend. How about yourself?
Same here, man. Market's down. I guess Bitcoin's up. Numbers are up though, and growth seems to keep going, so keeping us nice and busy.
Nice. Have you seen any prognostication on the bull run?
Yeah, I think it might still be a little bit before alts come back, but we're definitely seeing some momentum. It seems like
Okay.
at least the Bitcoin growth is loosening the market up a lot. Definitely more
Okay.
VC going around. We're seeing people a little bit more bullish, a lot more early stage investments happening, which is I think pretty critical.
Yeah, absolutely. People have been panicking with projects out there.
Yeah, I think most of the big VCs haven't had an exit in a while. So that means that they don't buy any tokens on the market and they're exclusively selling tokens into the market. So then everything gets kind of messy. And as soon as there's some big acquisitions, then the money starts to flow again.
Hmm.
So there's been a couple of those lately. There was a few cybersecurity AI products that got acquired in the last like couple months, and then now there's a lot of a lot of AI code generation products that are kind of similar to what we're doing with Prometheus, but maybe not quite as sophisticated. And those are starting to grow. And we're seeing funding going into those. I think we're going to see some funding going into Prometheus in the next couple of weeks, which will loosen up a lot of what we can do for node operator rewards. Hey,
That's
Soma.
awesome.
Hey guys, happy Friday.
Happy
Yeah, you
Friday.
as well. Uh,
I think we
Al,
have a few people joining here.
some of
Get
what
pop.
you just. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just adding the gang to the stage here.
Oh, some of the
Go ahead.
insights you just shared, I think, are hard won, and there's very few people that actually have gone through the crucible you have the past 4 or 5 years. So, if there's ever like any gaps in our itinerary here, I for one, and I'm sure some of the community would probably agree, would love to hear some war stories, some thoughts on where things are headed, like more general insights, because you certainly have them from a different perspective than most people I know.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the flow of wealth in the world, and that seems to usually loosen up when very wealthy people are buying. So if very wealthy people are buying, then that allows slightly less wealthy people to sell, which allows them to buy, because once they sell, they've got free cash, and then they can buy the market, and the money ripples down that way typically. In this case, especially in crypto, the move has always been that Bitcoin sells off at the top. Once Bitcoin sells off, then people take the earnings that they have from selling Bitcoin at the top and they put that into stable coins. So you usually see a slight pump in the stable coin markets. Like when you say a pump in stable coins, it's like half a percentage point or something, but like, USDC goes up above one, you know?
Oh, okay.
And once that happens, then typically you start to see a flow into alts. The reason that you see a flow into alts is that the same investment firms that are the ones riding everything to the top, they also need to keep making returns because that's how they get paid. So if Bitcoin starts to go down, they're not going to put the money back into Bitcoin. They usually take it out and they put it into the next risk-off asset, risk-on asset rather. So it typically goes risk-on or risk-off assets, riding those to the top, then risk-on assets, and then you see kind of a stabilization around like a new market equilibrium. And that's how prices move up in general. Typically, it also comes with some amount of quantitative easing from the U.S. government. The big thing this cycle is that people just don't know what's going to happen in the U.S., and it's made equity pricing very complicated. But we're starting to see some of that stabilize, and I think typically the world runs on 4-year cycles. So halfway through an American presidential term, every 2 years there's a midterm, and the midterm elections usually whoever the people in charge are, they want to look good, so they start pumping money back into the market and getting things growing again. And that typically has been how it usually works. In this case, we have the Federal Reserve a little bit pissed off with Trump, and so the market forecast is a little off. But I think in crypto, we're starting to be a little bit divorced from the U.S. markets as well. What I'm hearing from a lot of people in Dubai and in kind of Southeast Asia, especially the Chinese market now, is that they just actually don't care that much what the U.S. does, and everybody's kind of laughing. The market will recover regardless of what the U.S. does. The Americans just might not be included, which I think is probably how we have to approach this at Koii as well, pretty global community. So I think things are looking overall very good. In a more micro spectrum with Koii, there's a certain amount of people who got airdrops and got free tokens throughout this process. I won't name names, but some people made some bad decisions at various points and gave out way more tokens than we should have given out. And so we're kind of just waiting for those people to sell off now, so that the token price can start to accrue value again. And most of the time, what happens is once people stop selling, then the price starts going up, and it's usually you just have to wait long enough for people to stop selling. I made this mistake in 2017, actually. There's a big crash in the crypto markets at the end of 2017. And in 2018, I sold instead of just holding. And what happens is, as long as you hold long enough that other people stop selling, then the price starts to rebound. And that's when you can buy the bottom. And I think with Koii, that's kind of what we're counting on in the next couple of weeks. We have a lot of new traction. We've seen a lot of new node growth. We're getting a lot of ecosystem projects. We're going to hear from Pablo in a second about the white labeling efforts for the node. So we actually have a number of different organizations that are going to be taking the Koii node, making it their own, rebranding it, and then distributing it to their communities. So we expect to see a huge influx of new node operators and a number of new tokenomics improvements that are going to lead to more token buying. So we're expecting May to be a really good month for Koii. But that's just, that's what you see. And
well, that's exciting, and I appreciate the global market context. It really helps deepen my understanding of where Koii resides in all this.
Yeah, the whole decentralized finance thing unfortunately rides on top of the centralized finance rails. So if the U.S. government prints money, then everybody does well. And if they print less money, then we have to work harder. It doesn't mean we can't do well. Just it's a lot of hard work involved in.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Speaking of which, Pablo has some pretty cool stuff to show us. Pablo, do you want to do a quick screen share and walk us through the white labeling?
Yes, for sure. Let me share the screen.
Cool. As you're getting that up, I'll explain a little bit. For years actually now, since we first deployed the Koii node, we've had people ask us if they could use it for corporate environments, if they could white label it and put their own branding on it for their communities. And we've always been a little hesitant on that because we wanted the ecosystem to be mature enough that it wouldn't result in the community splitting off. But now we have a number of pretty big communities who have like hundreds of thousands of people themselves that are approaching us about having their own Koii node and their own Koii tasks. And that means that they'll probably have their own token mostly as a staking and reward incentive on their app. But it means that also we will be able to run all of those tasks on our nodes, on the existing Koii node, and they will also be able to run existing Koii tasks on their node. So we're going to hopefully onboard a lot of people. But yeah, Pablo, go ahead.
Nice. So what you guys are seeing here is, of course, a regular node, and we've refactored a lot of stuff to be able to, with just a pretty basic configuration, it's just a pretty small JSON file that I'll show you later, be able to really customize a lot of things in the node. So let me copy that folder to the app data of the application. And boom, we have a custom Ferrari edition of the node that hopefully will speed up rewards. And I want to emphasize like how easy it is to customize this. Let me show you now this file. So it's just a few color tokens. We also want to customize, like change the onboarding task. Sorry, and a few other things that will come in pretty soon. So let me take a few other examples or show you how the unlock screen looks. Then we have, I prepared a few very silly examples, by the way, but I think these are fun for a demo. So let me reload the UI. And boom, we have a Starbucks version of the node.
I could use Starbucks this morning. Very early in San
Yeah.
Francisco.
Yes, it's a special version for the morning. Yes.
Very cool.
And that's what I prepared here. Yeah. Let me delete this one. And you can see the implementation is like so simple that just reloading the UI does the trick.
Right on. So anybody can do this themselves, but also we're going to see this packaged for a bunch of different communities, so they'll have their own branded node. And the nice thing about this is on the back end, this will all still be running on K2, so we'll still see all the transaction fees. And that means that there's buy pressure for the Koii token, but for many of these communities, it'll be in a tailored custom onboarding process. This is going to come with open sourcing the node as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that effort and why it's taken so long? I know you've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes.
Oh, that's for me. Sorry. Yeah. It's coming pretty soon. We hope to release first white labeling in this upcoming version, and then in the next version, we are planning to also open source the application. We don't want to rush on that because it's a very big step, but it's coming really, really soon.
And that, especially white labeling or open sourcing it rather, is going to lead to a lot of corporate applications as well. We have some interesting consulting type people that are looking at distributing Koii nodes as an internal AI agent toolkit inside of their businesses, which is pretty awesome. Speaking of Bitcoin, Pedro and I have been looking at a variety of ways to get the Bitcoin community more involved in Koii. Bob, do you want to pull up your blog post? Yep.
Yes.
All good. You're new to Discord? You're the Discord guy, man. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
We tried to get this going. It's to let the nodes mine Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network. And Al created a proposal here for Koii. I will post the links soon. That explains on how this can be possible. And I created an article. It's more structured and more. It's more. It's a summary of what we
It's
intend to do.
a little less technical
Yes,
gobbledygook than
exactly. That explains what the proposal of KIP 31 is. So yeah.
So we're onboarding a whole bunch of different communities recently, and that's like one of the big efforts with the white labeling. But also with the Bitcoin side of things, I think that's a really strong community. We mentioned earlier how the market tends to flip from Bitcoin to alts and then back again. what this will do, which is I think a really, really good point that you brought up, Bob, is getting everybody from the community on the Bitcoin side to come and try out Koii means that there will be Bitcoin on Koii. And it means that when the market's up on Bitcoin, Koii will benefit. And when the market's down on Bitcoin, Koii will still benefit. And so that means that we'll have lots of wrapped Bitcoin coming onto Koii. The first step in this process, there's a much longer, if you can pull up the KIP for a second. Yeah. So the full KIP here is mostly about Bitcoin mining pools on Koii, but we also have a wider application of using what we call drive chains, which allows there to be secondary compute layers for the Bitcoin ecosystem. And this has been growing with companies like BitLayer, but hasn't reached like full market adoption yet because they're not that composable. So we'll be bringing a lot of Koii's peer-to-peer computing tech and smart contracts to the Bitcoin ecosystem to run basically on staked Bitcoin. So you'll be able to have Koii tasks that run on Bitcoin as a staking mechanism, and also you guys will be able to earn some Bitcoin on your node. And then on top of this, we'll also have a number of ways that we can actually run like mining pools and other types of Oracle services that are connected to Bitcoin. So it's going to mean lots of wrapped Bitcoin getting pulled onto Koii, and then also the ability to transact with Bitcoin using the Koii token as a transaction fee, which is actually one of the largest use cases for the Ethereum transaction gas fees. So we're hoping that will make a big impact in the tokenomics long term. But this has been going out to the Bitcoin community, and Bob's been sharing it around a bit, and we seem to be getting some really interested folks there. Over the weekend, I actually used Prometheus to install Bitcoin mining pools on my Koii node, and that's been running pretty well, so we expect that we'll have that task up and running for you guys pretty soon here as well. Did I miss anything?
No. It's great.
What do you think, Chris?
It makes me wonder. So you're doing these sort of onboarding processes to get other communities involved. What are your thoughts on kind of luring them out of that niche into the wider Koii community once you lure them here? Once you give them a task that you know is going to get their attention, how do you onboard into the larger community?
Yeah, so peer-to-peer is all about making sure that people have lots of different points of connection to the community. So what it means, I think, mostly for people is that they have to have more than one reason to be on Koii. And getting in because of Bitcoin is one reason that's really appeals to a lot of people, especially because Bitcoin is really popular right now. I think around the world there have never been more people that know about Bitcoin. But similarly, there's also a lot of people who are really excited about Crypto Mondays or other different communities. So the really nice thing about Koii is an open standard that's compatible across all of these different technologies. And because of that, once you get in to run a Bitcoin node on Koii, then you can try out running all kinds of other Koii tasks. You can get involved in running a Prometheus task, or you can get involved in running Trueflation. And the more of these options that there are, the more reasons people have to stick around. And I think that's probably been our main focus for a long time. And so now that we have the mainnet online and the launch and stuff, we've had a lot more time to work on this. One of the big examples of this, though, is Prometheus, because Prometheus is actually how we're able to integrate all these different technologies. Because behind the scenes, getting everything to run on Koii nodes is a little complicated, right? There's a lot of different. But if we can automate most of that integration work, then we can onboard more and more different communities and make it even easier. In the last 2 weeks, actually, we've had several people approach us for grants to integrate different either deep-in communities or L1s onto the Koii node. And so we've seen, I think, 3 of those grants go out in the last couple of weeks. One of them is Mysterium, for example, which is a VPN. So in the very near future, anybody from the Mysterium community will be able to quickly install a Mysterium node using Koii. And that will mean that you'll be also able to get access to a free VPN if you have the Koii node installed. And so there's a lot of these kinds of things that I think will add a lot of value. And we're just kind of, we're hoping to include as many people as we can as this continues growing. We want many reasons for people to stick around.
How long do you think it's going to take to get you to the point where you say free VPN, where that's sort of a comparative point and click process rather than kind of needing to know your way around the node, the ecosystem, to run a service like that?
Yeah, so with this one in particular, it's going to be a task. So once you install that task and run it, then you'll be able to use their VPN service for free. And there's a few
Nice.
other things like that. So the goal is that there's reasons that you want to run the node that are non-financial as well. And so the more of those that we have on top of it, the better this will be going. We've also recently been approached by a bunch of people who do trading bots. So I'm not sure if that appeals to the community. Actually, can we do something quickly? Anybody who's listening in Discord, if you like the idea of having trading bots in your coin node that trade your funds for you, say something in the chat. I see Marango typing. Nice. Marango's in. Cool. Yeah, Pablo, totally agree. Nice. Okay, so I'm hearing that trading bots would be good. So I will go vibe code that this weekend, and hopefully we'll have some trading bots for you guys soon. But yeah, this is the whole idea with Prometheus. AI agents are really good at writing certain types of code. The one thing that they do extremely well is integrations. So integrations can be really painstaking for the average developer. It usually means, read the manual from company A and compare it to the manual from company B, and then try to write some code that makes company A and company B work well together. I used to do this in the systems integration world. We'd go into a factory and there'd be like 3 or 4 different pieces of technology that we had to integrate, and then we'd go run wires between these different devices. And it's exhausting in that context. But AI agents can do it really efficiently. And so hopefully what this means is that the Koii node as a hub for future stuff will start to be a lot simpler proposition, and we'll be able to onboard things a lot faster.
That's great. Are you going to someday have an aggregator page with all the different perks and benefits to just kind of make them searchable and clear? Because
Yeah, we can definitely
you're
work on something like that.
yeah, because you're onboarding partnerships at such a rate now that like who can keep up? Like you've got a lot of services and a lot of perks coming online soon, and people are going to want to min-max that to their own particular needs, I imagine.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. We've been working on discovery features to make it easier. One of the big ones this week was the Alpaca Network, which I've known about these guys for a long time. They're another Canadian company. Their whole premise, though, is that you should be able to get paid for training AI on your computer. So if you participate in training an AI model, you can get back like a tokenized share of ownership for that model. So I'm really excited to see that kind of stuff coming to the node pretty soon as well. I think probably the easiest way right now is people should just listen to all of our Twitter spaces, but I understand that's a lot of time because it's like 5 or 6 hours of spaces per week. So yeah, we can definitely start doing some weekly roundups and some kind of summary, I think might help.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Ina, if you're listening, that might be a really good piece of social content that we can start putting out.
And not just a weekly roundup, but like literally an aggregator page where people can go and just see from the beginning of time, like all the features.
Yeah, definitely. That'd be pretty cool, actually. I think showing how far it's come is always fun.
Yeah.
Definitely. We also have Tehong and Soma here, both of whom have pretty cool demos for us. Soma, I think you have something pretty cool that's coming out for the node that's going to make Prometheus a lot better. Are you ready for a demo?
Yep, absolutely. Let me share my screen. Okay. So I'm gonna talk about the task extensions again, and we finally have the Grok API key fetcher. So we right now have the Cloudy API, have the Gemini API, and the Grok API. Let me do the demo here. You can see it passed the Cloudflare check, which is good and secure. And in. So with the Grok API key fetcher, user can easily get their Grok API key and run the Prometheus task and have more our system and build more on GitHub. And here's my notification. One moment. Oh, here we go. Okay. So we are here. We are directly go to the API key creating page.
That's the Koii node saying, for example, Prometheus there.
Yes.
Very cool. So that's not normally in the page on Grok, but it shows up using the Koii node.
Right, just a hint. If you open by extension helper, the hint will here. If you open this page on other browser, it will show up.
Very cool. Love the tooltips.
And we click zip. and your key is already saved. And that's it.
Wow, fantastic.
Yes, and you
This
come
one
back
is
to
the
your
first. Now we have Grok as an integration, so we can
yes,
use tasks that run with Grok.
and you can copy paste, save it somewhere, or save it somewhere as your own usage. But you can theoretically go back to desktop node. Your API key is already there. Let's see. Oh, it might have a delay, but yeah, it will be there. Trust me.
Amazing. That's going to be really good news for Prometheus, but also I think for things like Astrolink that need LLMs. So we'll have all kinds of different integrations coming for Grok now that's online. This is also good news for anybody who has a Twitter account. Because you have a blue check, now you have free LLM access, so you can plug that into your Koii node and make money off of it.
Wow.
So now we have 3 supported LLMs on Koii, I think. Plus Llama, which we had before, so definitely growing.
Yeah, I think so. We have 3 now, and more to go. Like maybe ChatGPT, DeepSeek, maybe.
Yeah, we need to get DeepSeek on there as well. Yeah, lots more coming. That means more and more options for Prometheus and for everything else that's happening on the ecosystem. But also for future task development, we'll now be able to have agents that run on Grok. It's pretty fantastic. Nice work, Soma.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And Tehong, I think we have a quick demo from the Prometheus website as well.
Yeah, hello guys. So for some people who don't know about me, I'm a developer working on Prometheus website. Let me share my screen. Okay, so can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah, so you have a new payment credits. So if you click, you guys can see available credits. How you get these credits? We have new login system. So when you click after login, you can see this My Portal button. You click here. You go direct to this My Portal page. In this page, you guys can see the balance, your available funds, offerings placed, offerings completed. Now I have 1 offerings placed here, as you can see, as you can see. And here, the new button is called Activate Auto Fund. So when you guys click this one, you guys can see this new subscription payment here. When you go to Apple checking details, you guys can confirm. Then it goes to this payment page, and you guys can pay using your credit card here. I'm not gonna put my card information here. So after that, they successfully pay. You guys can see available funds here, and using with the credit with this available funds, you guys can go to bounty page. Then will be you guys will able to see credits here. Then and you guys put your bounty and then release the swarm. So it's gonna be live soon. So stay tuned, guys. Thank you.
Right on. Yeah, this is going to make a big difference in terms of how we onboard people now that we have credit card payments built very much for a non-crypto audience. It's going to really help as well with ensuring we have buy pressure for the Koii token. So our goal for the next couple months is going to be to get Prometheus to a couple 100,000 users. When that happens, that's going to mean $8 a month coming in, buying Koii tokens, leading to bounties coming out to the nodes for you guys. And as we get that up and running, it's going to also lead to stablecoin payments for the node operators. So what we'll hope for is that Prometheus will lead to a lot of stablecoin payments coming out to nodes, and that's going to lead to all kinds of more rewards and TVL on the ecosystem. One other thing which we didn't talk about here is that we also have a whole bunch of partnerships coming in with different brands that have their own tokens. And so they're going to be putting those into Prometheus as well, which is going to lead to even more tokens coming into the Koii node. So a lot of this stuff's been happening in the background for quite a while, and I know that you guys have all been really patient, but just want to focus on the fact that we now actually have this live product that runs completely on Koii. So with Prometheus, when you go and actually push any funds into it, that's all getting wrapped onto Koii. That's leading to more tokens on Koii and it's node operators. But the most exciting thing about this, we have something completely decentralized where you can pay with a credit card on the front end, which there are very few examples of that. I think Filecoin is probably one of the only others that's able to do this at this scale that we have. So we're very rapidly approaching something that is very competitive in just the Web3 market, but also is leading to competitive advantages in the Web2 market, where we can offer things at a much lower cost and we can provide really, really high quality services. Behind the scenes, there's also a whole team of people, Laura, Saeed, and Herman, who are all working on the actual backend engineering with the agents themselves. And I think we're going to get some demos on that this next week, because I think everybody's been working about 14 or 16 hours a day getting the agents running and debugging things and testing them. But we've seen some really good progress there too. So we're getting very close to being able to push a button on the Prometheus website and then have Koii nodes actually build a whole product. And I guess that brings us full circle, Chris, that very soon we'll be able to do these integrations incredibly fast, because we'll be able to actually use a swarm of Koii nodes to do all the work. And that's only the beginning of what we can do with swarms on Koii.
Yeah, I'm really pretty excited about that tech. You said something earlier that got me wondering. You said about the projected node growth. Are there emergent, sorry, sore throat. Are there emergent qualities at various node size thresholds that that kind of propel you to the next level beyond the economics behind it?
Yeah, so there's the economics, but it's also what we can achieve with the nodes. And that's where the services to the community become the exciting part. So right now, it's a pretty financial relationship that people have with the Koii node. Over the next 3 or 4 months, I think we're going to see that dramatically change. There's things like social media that become possible when you have like a couple 100,000 nodes. When we get into the millions of nodes, we can start doing streaming. So things like YouTube or Spotify can run on Koii. And that's because you need more nodes closer to each end user so that you have a high quality of service. And then when we get into like tens of millions or hundreds of millions of nodes, it becomes possible to do Google level operations like search or AI. And so right now we're using external API services for AI. That's mostly because we just don't have enough nodes to be able to power those kinds of those kinds of applications. There are products like Jensen and a few others though, very small, very distributed models. So we'll be able to soon start using those to actually augment. And what I'm counting on, and I think what we've seen is artificial intelligence has been getting progressively more efficient on computers, and the technology to use lots of small computers like their one big computer has been improving as well. And so in parallel, while we're growing the Koii ecosystem, there's people out there that are coming up with ways to monetize lots of consumer devices. And I think that we're going to hit that very squarely in a couple of years, probably like a year, 2 years, where we're going to start seeing, Google search level efficiency across lots of small devices. And these are all open source projects. So with Prometheus and other things like that, we'll be able to modify these existing open source projects and get them to run on Koii. So that's why the AI code generation is a really critical component, because we can iterate really fast and we can build incredibly big things. But yeah, it's all about eventually providing services to the community more so than providing financial incentives. And this is kind of the path that things like Ethereum have taken as well. So if you look at the history of Ethereum, it started out being very much and now it's actually mostly about people using it for banking or for some kind of community that they're part of. And there's definitely people that are there just to trade tokens on Ethereum, but I think the big difference if you look at Solana versus Ethereum is that the Ethereum community is not really there to trade as much as there to participate. And the Solana community is definitely all about trading.
Okay. So going back a bit, once the doors open, they're going to open in a big way. When you could suddenly adopt or integrate into all these existing platforms, that you can all of a sudden be a solution provider for them at a cheaper level.
Exactly. Yeah. It reminds me of an old Bitcoin adage, slowly and then all at once. I think it originally came from Ernest Hemingway. Let me find here we go. Nice. Got an image for you guys. So you see the image I dropped in the chat there. It's always gradual until it starts to explode. And I think what we've been building here is a really strong foundation for the last few years and testing things at scale. And now we're reaching a point where we can autonomously create these Koii tasks, we can put them onto the node. We're seeing new communities joining. So each time one of those new communities joins, obviously they're going to also be able to use Prometheus to do more cool things with the node. And our goal there is just we want to see lots of standard. And so the token price is definitely proportionate to this. Token price usually corresponds to how many people are in an ecosystem more than anything. And so by building out all of these suites of services, we're really building towards more communities being able to join and having more human beings in the ecosystem. I think our population on Koii right now is probably about like 50,000, something like that. We'd like to see that number in the 500,000 range as quick as we can. But I think that we've spent the time to build anything, and that's where we're seeing a lot of traction for customers, and also because there's just nothing else like this, and nobody else has taken the effort to go and do the years of R&D required. And so now that we've done that, as we open source the Koii node, we can see a lot of people. And hopefully, actually, we'll have a few of them present. We've started to lock down a few of those partnerships, so I can't talk about them right now.
How do you protect your IP if you're the only one doing R&D and you have a lot of open source elements to your project? Is it just the network you're building, the partnerships you're building, and like the backbone?
Yeah, I think the network effects is probably a critical component of it. I think also the stuff is pretty complicated too. So as much as you can fork it using something like Prometheus, it is not a simple process. I think the other side of it too, though, is for something like Koii to work, you need a transaction layer that's as fast as Solana. So Koii you could take the Koii node and you could run it on Solana mainnet, or you could run it on Sui or Aptos, maybe Near. I think those are probably the only networks that have the speed and tolerance that's required. So K2 is really one of its kind in that way, where like our transaction fees and our bandwidth are pretty significant. We scaled up a lot of things on K2 that are really efficient. So our goal here is that we see a lot of communities from those other ecosystems coming over and using the Koii node for their own reasons. This is a big part of why we haven't forced people to use only the Koii node for staking and rewards. Because if we can be very open to these new communities coming in and they can use their, then it's not going to bother them quite as much to pay a little bit of gas fees in the Koii token. And that's really what leads to the exponential growth here. So we built this platform for tens of billions of users, not for hundreds of thousands. And it does take some time for that to grow, but I think it's designed to be the ubiquitous solution. So people, it's just an easy choice to use Koii.
I see. So you've solved the scaling problem from day one almost. I mean, not to make it sound easy, but like that was your plan from day one to build it as if it was already at scale.
Yeah, I mean, I spent about 4 years running a think tank before this. That's where a lot of these ideas came from. That's actually one of the big reasons that we focused on peer-to-peer, as opposed to how a lot of companies monetize, which is where they're basically reselling their the edge devices back to some centralized provider. And we've stayed away from doing that because we wanted to see what we could actually put together as opposed to building value for something else. And that's why we focused a lot on these kinds of like AI agent type applications, and I think we're being rewarded for that now.
Very nice. Well, to get simple, that was the problem of the last bull run, right? It was all the back of the napkin stuff that was just ideas with no infrastructure behind it. And it sounds like you were one of the outliers.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't stuck around this long by chance. I think there's been a lot of moments where a lot of our competitors have closed up shop, and we've seen tons of DPINs actually like rise and then fall. And they went to much higher valuations than Koii, and then they dropped off and went to zero. And we've seen tons of those happen. We've seen that happen with lots of meme coins, lots of other communities. Our goal here is to build something that really lasts and perseveres long term. So, something that you can hold on to and you don't have to be an active trader to participate. That being said, I am pretty excited to get trading bots onto the Koii node. We're going to have DEX listings coming up timed with the Crypto Nights launch in probably mid-May. And so the DEX listings on Solana DEXs and on Base and Arbitrum will probably be around that same time. So sometime between now and then, I anticipate having a trading bot available on the Koii node. And so when these big DEX listings and stuff happen, I want all of you guys to be able to run a trading bot and take advantage of all that volume. So hopefully that means the community gets to make some money off it, and we can hopefully get you guys all like auto trading. The goal with all this stuff, though, and the whole idea behind it, you shouldn't have to be a degen to use Koii. As much as we love the degen energy, it's also fine if you just want to run the node and kind of relax and forget about it. And that's why we're really focused on building something that lasts for the long term. So the price might go down in the short term, but it's something that you can hold on to, and we will uphold our promise from the Koii side that it's going to lead to good results.
So for those of us excited about the trading bots, realistically, how much USD would you need to start participating in a meaningful way?
Yeah, so the way this works is you do have to bring your own capital, but it depends on the gas fees on the network. So part of the reason that we're focusing on Arbitrum, Base, and Solana is we don't want to be losing a lot of the trading capital towards gas fees. What we're expecting here is, like $5-10 of Solana and Koii would be fine. The trading pair to trade will be Koii Solana. So if you have $5-10 of each of those, then you'll be able to trade the market. Most of these bots are designed to be market neutral. And what that means is you're filling orders on one exchange and wrapping tokens across to fill the order. And if you have a bot that does that for you, it's actually very fast and very efficient. And what it means mostly is you get to front run the trades. So a lot of new community members come in and they're all buying or they're all selling, then you get to be the buyer or the first buyer or first seller. And that's actually a really efficient way to make kind of small incremental returns. So we know a few communities that are doing this really well right now, piggybacking some of their tech to bring it over onto Koii.
Oh, that's exciting. I didn't expect you to give a number that approachable.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a lot of money. The trick is, gas fees on Solana are pretty low. Gas fees on Arbitrum and Base are also pretty low. So as long as you have enough capital to sides of the book, then you can make a decent bit of money. Our goal would be to see a couple thousand people with $5 or $10 each. If you bring $100, obviously you're going to make more. So our goal is that this is net positive all over the place. And then, of course, the other exciting thing about this is we'll have probably some competitions. So not only will you get to run the trading bot, but we'll also give you a bonus in Koii tokens if you do a good job. So hopefully that goes back to you being able to put that back on the order book and keep auto trading it, which is a great way for us to work away from having centralized market makers. Because I think what we've been doing so far is, we had a lot of connections with folks in Dubai and people who kind of said that they really knew the markets. And what I've experienced from them is most of the time they're a little bit too smart for their own good. And so what we're hoping to do here is give that kind of power of the pricing back to the community. And with a whole bunch of community members running their own nodes, we'll be able to see a decent bit of trading volume that isn't, paying back to some big hedge fund or something.
So you lost me at one part. Said extra rewards for community members doing a good job. My take on this was that most of it was automated. Like where is the opportunity to do a good job to actually get in there and make decisions and do day trading?
Keeping your node turned on is what.
Okay.
Looks like. Yeah.
That makes sense.
It shouldn't be super hard to do that. Trading bots are pretty straightforward. They're mostly designed to be set and forget. Of course,
Yeah.
we'll probably offer a number of different algorithms, so there'll be a little bit of like choosing your own adventure.
Oh, nice.
We can't
Setting
obviously can't
regression
guarantee
levels.
their performance. Yeah, exactly. But assuming that we have a few different partners that we're trying to onboard, so assuming that they all are able to deploy their Koii tasks and we have kind of a good distribution of them, that's going to mean that it's kind of up to people to keep their node on and keep lots of funding in that wallet. So if you bring lots of funds and you have your node on, then there should be lots of ways for you to make money. And then we'll probably release a season 2 of the bonus task pretty soon. And I think we're probably going to be doing 3 of those a year is what it looks like. So season 2 of the bonus task will probably center heavily on Prometheus and trading bot.
Exciting. I know the bonus task has been a long time favorite.
Yeah, definitely lots more coming. I think Marengo asked any updates on node limits and how we can check if we are whitelisted, and how will dynamic IP users be able to whitelist. So the main thing there is if you have a bunch of different nodes on an IP address and we don't know who you are, then it looks like you are trying to DDoS the network or you're trying to run some kind of a bot attack. So obviously we don't mind you running a lot of nodes, but you just have to tell us your IP address. If you have a static IP address, it's probably not a good place to run like a ton of nodes. I think we've increased the limit, so you're able to run like 5 or 6 nodes on one IP address. And if you already have more than that, I'm surprised that you have so many computers. But we can definitely help you out if you open a ticket. We can try to troubleshoot a little bit. Bob's up here, and I know Bob's helping out always with tickets. Bob, do you want to say a quick word on how people can get in touch and what the best thing to look out for? Nice. And I see, Rango, you also said Forex. Not sure about Forex right now. It's not on crypto rails, so it's a little harder. But if you have an idea or if you have a provider that you really like, we'd love to hear about it, and we can definitely get that set up for you. Maybe a good task for Prometheus, actually. Highly encourage the community as well. Prometheus accepts Koii tokens as payments, so if you've been here for a long time and you have a bunch, drop a GitHub link in there. You can also create your own GitHub repo and put a README file in there, and then Prometheus will get to work. So we're going to be releasing beta versions of the bug finder and the feature builder today. And we expect that those will not necessarily be working at the beginning, but every bounty that you put up gives us training data. So if you put up a bounty in Koii tokens, we will probably reimburse you for your bounty just so that we can test out the system. Our goal with Prometheus, just so everybody's on the same page, is if we're able to tap into Grok, OpenAI, Claude, and DeepSeek and get them all to work on the same software problems, we'll be able to compare them and identify which ones are smarter and where they do a better job. And that allows us to build a really strong model long-term that can write software better than anything else. And that's something that we wanted to build for this community, where the more that we can crowdsource devices and the more that we can write really strong software, that's what's going to lead to our success. And so that's coming. We really appreciate any feedback on it, though, too. Even just check out the website, let us know. And we're putting a lot of effort into it, so there's updates pretty much every day.
Wow. I can't imagine trying to keep up with your documentation with updates every day.
Actually, that's what Prometheus is for. So rewriting documentation is something that AI agents are pretty good at. And we're working on making that easier.
Nothing like building a product to use on your own product.
That's always the way. Yeah. Exciting times. Cool. I think we can probably wrap up here. Thanks everybody for paying attention. It's always good to have a chat on Fridays. Chris, always love hearing your voice.
Sorry,
any
it's cracky
questions
today.
anyone's missing, open a ticket and Bob will get back to you.
Well, thanks for all the
Any
updates.
thoughts to close us out?
No, this was just once again a really filled session. So thank you very much, and thanks to the team who is constantly delivering.
Yeah, we're always grinding over here. It's still a bear market for Koii, so we got to keep grinding until we get out of it. That's the way things go. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now. Happy
Thank
Friday.
you. Bye.